Well, last episode we spent with Red O'Hearn and on his beaver and otter line. In this episode we're going to be on that same line again, and there's going to be a lot of action. Red's a lot of fun, so sit back and enjoy.
This dam's been here for years. They never do dig it out. And I thought of coming back in here and just hanging a snare real high, you know, like 10, 12 inches high. That way I could catch maybe a big cat. What I have here, what I have going here is there's a colony of beavers, and there's dams below here, and there's a really well-established dam here. There was a really good crossover trail coming over this dam right there. So what I did is there's a real deep channel here. I've got 4 330s from there to there. And I've caught 4 beavers out of here, but I think it's about done.
These bloodshot eyes of knowledge, too proud to ever behold the all that is this and nothingness out on the bad river road, out on the bad river road.
So, well, here's an otter track. I think I got something in that one. I'm reluctant to just jump down in there because a lot of the traps I'm using are magnums. There's an otter in a 330 Belial. It's really a simple setup, and I've got several dive sticks so that when the animals, if they're swimming at the top of the water, they see there are several obstacles and they just dive deep enough and go for an extended swim underwater so they can avoid them. This would be a good spot to use those 4'8" stands. But when I walked over here, I didn't know the water was going to be so deep, so I just had standard stabilizers. So I actually need to get in the water to reset it. That's a pretty good size otter. When the rain, depending on how much it rains, this whole thing can be this deep of water. So occasionally a guy's not going to be able to check them. Same procedure, just try to keep the traps far enough away from each other that in most cases you don't get a snap trap when you get an animal in one of the other ones. That's all it takes.
Wiebe Trapline Adventures is brought to you by Shields All Sports. Follow your passion for everything outdoors. By Dakota Line Snares and Trapping Products. Snares loaded for speed. And by Wiebe Fleshing and Skinning Knives. We are wicked sharp. We are Wiebe.
I caught a big beaver in that deep run over here, and I caught 2 beavers and 2 muskrats out of that. If you come up here, you can see where the run goes around the house, circles the house, right in that, under that leaning weed right there.
So these are closed because they took out the dam at the culvert.
Right. The water was enough on that run on the south side to just about cover a 330. It was almost 10 inches deep. But it was worth leaving after I even thought I had it done, because I caught another beaver here. And a bonus otter. They're still fresh. I don't even know if it's true. I look at them like if I'm in an Asian food store. When we go to my son's house in Charleston, one of the big things we like to do is go to the Asian food store, because it's got duck feet. You can buy all kinds of chicken parts, pork parts, anything that you probably wouldn't eat, you can buy there. This is a female, and when they're mating, the males grab them by the back of the neck. I don't know if it's like mink, but mink ranchers said that male mink will rape that female mink, and the actual violence of the act makes her come into heat and ovulate. I don't know if that's true, but I don't know if my wife would like me biting her on the neck like that. Heck, maybe she would. Maybe I should ask.
Try it, Red.
Yeah, just make it a surprise.
That is spontaneous. But if they have up to 7,
Yeah, and so I've dug into a lot of these houses, and some of them are tall, and they'll have an upper chamber and a lower chamber. They'll actually have like a second story, I suppose, for when the water gets real high, because the water can get extremely high in some of these places where the beavers are building their houses. And it's also a really good spot for cottonmouths to sit up on top and sun themselves. So a lot of times there'll be snakes, when it's a little bit warmer, there'll be snakes sitting up on top. Sometimes there'll be several of them up there sunning themselves. I usually just shoot the poisonous snakes. You can tell a snake is poisonous if it has an elliptical pupil, kind of like a cat. And usually you get used to it after, at least for me, I have to get used to it every year because we don't have to look for snakes where I live. But down here you get used to it. Once they get out, you look every step you take so you don't step on them. And a lot of times they're just laying there and you're close enough to see if that pupil's round or elliptical. Another thing you can look for, or at least that I look for, is the shape of their head. If the shape of their head looks like your thumb, usually it's a non-poisonous snake. If the shape of their head looks like your fist, like a triangle, it's usually a poisonous snake. And even though you look, a lot of times you'll be within less than a foot of them sometimes before you see them. So,
Does that make your adrenaline kick in?
occasionally. Life's not dull unless you want to be dull. I know a lot of dull people who like being dull. They take dullness to a whole new level. Name any? I probably shouldn't. Never take a chance. Never be spontaneous. In fact, it's just like saying, don't live.
Wiebe Trapline Adventures is brought to you by Redneck Convent, gear for the rugged, tough outdoors. By F&T Fur Harvesters Trading Post, everything you need for trapping and hunting. And by Southern Snares Trapping Supply, our customer success is our priority.
I call that the Mississippi jerk. It's a wrestling move that I learned from Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Where was Hacksaw Jim Duggan from?
Montana. Actually, I think there was a wrestler because we used to watch professional wrestling when we were in junior high and high school. It was a big deal.
All the guys.
Oh yeah, we'd have some massive tag team royals in the student lounge, and the school secretary would come out there trying to break them up. Remember Danny Little Bear? Bulldog Bob Brown? Black Angus?
I think there was different world champions depending on where you were at.
There were different, I think there were different circuits.
Yeah.
How about Ray Lawler?
Crusher? You know who the Crusher is?
Nope, never heard of him.
I thought he was world famous. His brother, the Bruiser.
The Bruiser and Crusher?
Pompey Purple?
No, I never heard of him.
Wild Pampas of the North. There was Billy Red Cloud.
How about Big Moose Cholak?
Todd Buster Kenny J.
No.
Billy one man.
Sod Buster Kenny Jake?
J.
Kenny J.
Then later in his career, he must have been feeling kind of bad, you know, being always a loser.
That sounds touchy and feely to me. Very capable. Extremely mediocre. Kenny the J.
Hey everyone, Cale with Wiebe Knives and Dakota Line Snares. Figured I'd take some time today to show you our line of fleshing knives. First, I've got the blue handled ones here. Got an 8 and a 12, just different sizes for different animals. Each one is gonna have one sharp side and the other is just a straight, flat pushing side. Next is the Wiebe Pro. A little bit different here. It's gonna have 2 blades on it, one a little bit sharper, one a little bit duller. It's got that same rounded plastic handle. Lastly, I've got the Elite. Same thing, it's gonna have 2 blades on it, one a little bit sharper, one a little bit duller, but the handles are softer, a little bit squarer. I really like the feel of this knife in your hand. Great line of knives overall though. Again, that's the Wiebe line of fleshing knives.
All right, I'm thoroughly convinced that otter smell is attractive to bobcats because this isn't the first time I pulled an otter that I caught here. I've given him enough wire where the otter could end up in the water, and I pulled him up that trail and let him lay there while I was remaking my set. And the next time I check the trap, I've got a bobcat. This is a nice cat for here. It's not a huge one, but it's got nice markings on it. Pretty nice catch for a beaver trapper. Not real big, but pretty nice. He won't be killing any more chickens. Getting an animal eyes view of what it looks like to go up this trail. Don't use a bunch of heavy blocking. Or at least I don't usually, unless I've got animals that are already going around my trap. Just a little bit to break up the outline.
Wiebe Trapline Adventures is brought to you by Cold Creek Trapping Products. Serious trapping gear for the serious trapper. by Mark's Tech Animal Lures, top quality baits and lures with proven performance. And by Wiebe Knives. Don't ever get caught in the field again with a dull knife.
I thought this would be a good snare set because a lot of times where you've got a bridge, it's like a neck down spot and there'll be a good trail to catch a cat. It's probably got a lot of more coons than cats, but if a guy could hang a snare in this trail, say 10 inches off the ground, maybe 12, you'd catch the big toms, which you want anyway. If I threw a couple beaver carcasses here, and one was totally gone and the other one was about 20 feet up that trail, about half eaten. Well, the next time I checked the trap, I had a beaver, but something had drug it out of the water, and I think it was dogs, because there's a bunch of stray dogs running around. Well, I didn't even get the caster because they ate so much of the beaver. All I got was a half-eaten tail. And it looks like, see the red spot on the dam over there? Can you see that? Looks like they ate up another beaver. Anyway, I caught him. I might not salvage much. I think it's actually coyotes. I've caught several coyotes and bobcats crossing beaver dams where it's like the bridge. I've got a 280, it was between those sticks on the top side of the dam. It's laying snapped over there. I had a 330 below the dam, and I've taken two beavers and an otter out of that, and I haven't managed to gain one beaver skin yet. Look at all these tracks. I could be wrong. It could be a dogs, but I'm not sure. All I know is not going to be skinning this guy. I'm not going to gain a tail. All I can possibly salvage is that skull. I can get $1 out of it because the teeth are good. But it's still, I can charge the fee for catching him. So it's still a money maker, even though it's kind of discouraging. that's one of the things people always ask me is, you ever eat beaver tail? I said, yes, I've tried it 2 or 3 times. I guess I've tried it 3 times. One time I thought, well, I'll just cook it like a steak in the broiler. I thought that fat's got to be good if it's crispy, because I really like the crisp fat on a steak. Crisp fat on a steak. Yeah, that came out right. Anyway, it was terrible. The next time I can't remember how I prepared it. It was terrible. And then I tried just eating it raw. It was terrible. Just like, it's mostly fat because it's a fat storage mechanism for the beaver. Got to get my stabilizer steak out of here. There it is. Isn't that something though? I use a lot of 18-inch gloves down here. I prefer them because I usually don't. I'm either using a stabilizer stake or a 4-foot stand, so I don't need the long gloves. But I'm trying these Cold Creek gloves from Mark Steck, and they are nicely lined. They're actually pretty warm, and they're tough. They've got a nice texture to them. They've got good feel. I believe I have pretty good manual dexterity, and I just like them.
Well, that was a great time hanging out with Red, and Red does a good job for those farmers, and they pay him well for it. Now, next week's episode, we're going to be with Todd Wilebeski, and Todd is an excellent beaver trapper, and he's going to have an enormous catch. A little hint about his catch: he breaks a leaf spring on both sides of his pickup. So until next week, peaceful waters.
Out on the Bad River Road.
Toenail catch on that beaver.
Out on the Bad River Road.
Or whether it be a Bridger number 5 or a PS85, I like
The whole wide world's